Welcome back. Joining us now, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. You're here to endorse Ben Jealous, for governor. Why this endorsement?
Well, this is like endorsing your brother. Ben and I have had sort of parallel paths in life. And I tell you, he is the most exciting rising politician that I know in terms of his potential to really make an impact for Marylanders on what matters to them, the bottom line, economic opportunity, economic justice, and really to try to create Maryland a national model. So I've never been so enthusiastic, I think, unless my actual blood brother was running, to be supporting him.
Okay, the race in Virginia's gotten a lot of buildup, okay? Everybody's pulling out the big guns there. Put the race in Maryland in perspective for us. How big is that to the Democratic Party on a national level?
When you have a strong state like this, that we really do need in the Democratic Party to have solid governors, Democratic governors who share values and principles with the overwhelming majority of people. Things like he wants to do, raising the minimum wage, things like he wants to do to deal with the plague of mass incarceration, things like he wants to do, next generation people investing in tech and innovation. Maryland needs to be back on the forefront of creating justice for all, opportunity for all, and being the next generation state that shows what the future's like.
Republicans seem to have done a pretty good job beating down the Democrats in terms of all the statewide offices and local offices that the party lost while Obama was in office for the past 8 years.
Yeah, well, people are forgetting what Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local. If we want to build a great nation, it starts on what you're doing right now where you are. And that's why I love that Ben started as a grassroots organizer, started his work really in the grassroots, understanding that if we don't have strong neighborhoods, strong communities, strong families that have an economic fighting chance, we're not going to be successful.
Question to both of you. How big a factor is Donald Trump going to be in this race for governor of Maryland?
Donald Trump is a big help. I've said to folks, look, I'm in a much better spot running with Cory and Bernie at my back than Hogan, who has Donald Trump like a 50-pound albatross around his neck. You've seen his approval ratings keep coming down. Most importantly, the would you vote for him number is now down to like 41. And Donald Trump has a lot to do with that. And while he tries to stay away from Donald Trump, he can't help but to embrace Betsy DeVos. He frankly, stood down and let Pruitt come in, who's going to destroy the Bay as he destroys the EPA. And so Donald Trump spells nothing but trouble for Hogan.
Yeah. Donald Trump says the Democratic Party is a mess right now. Okay. We expect Donald Trump to say that, and I can probably anticipate your response to that. But what I want to ask you about the Democrats, where is the Democratic Party right now? Is the Democratic Party settling in to become the obstructionist, if you will, that the Republicans were to Barack Obama? What can the Democrats offer at this point with the Republicans in the White House and both houses?
Well, we cannot be a party that defines ourselves by what we're against. We have to be about what we're for. That's why, if you go on Ben Jealous's website, you see real ideas, substantive plans that put a vision for this country that's so compelling. My father told me there's two ways to go through life, is a thermometer or a thermostat. If we go through as a thermometer, just letting what Donald Trump says on this particular day, rates are up and down. No, we need to be a thermostat. We need to set the temperature and go out there. And that's, again, why I'm here right now, is because I'm about the future of America, not about what I think is the dark parts of our country now that we need to be working beyond.
I want to get to a couple of specifics, but I got to ask you this because your name keeps coming up, in the talk about president. You're going to run for president?
Well, if we start talking about what's going to happen 3 years from now and forget about what's happening now, I think we lose our way.
You comfortable with your name being in the conversation?
Who would not be flattered to have a name in a conversation? But really, honestly, that we are distracting ourselves with 3 years from now. We have work to do today, and every single election is a building block, and that's why the Maryland race is so critical.
I got it. Go ahead.
We've got to be clear that this is not about resistance. We've got to move beyond resistance. We've got to make sure our families move forward no matter what happens in Washington. That's why it's so important to me that we see national Democratic leaders saying our states are important again. Let's start taking back these state houses. We got to change. What Dr. King taught us was change comes to Washington. It doesn't come from Washington. The only reason the far right wing can control every branch of our federal government right now is they first built a movement that controls 38 states. It's critical that we start to take back our states.
You both represent, the progressive, wing of the party. You've already brought in Bernie Sanders, who, also has endorsed you. Where do the Hillary Clinton Democrats stand in all this?
So my team is a team that's built from people that come out of her campaign, that come out of Bernie's campaign, that come out of the Obama campaign. That's why I think Cory, frankly, Booker and Bernie as bookend signals to a lot of voters in the state. This is a big tent campaign. It's founded on the values of let's make sure that our schools work. Let's make sure that jobs pay. Let's make sure that when it comes to this crisis of addiction, we deal with it as a health crisis.
Can you give me
shrink our prisons?
Can you give me 1 or 2 areas where you see Democrats working with Trump and with Republicans? Let's talk about tax reform. Okay, we know you guys are saying only the rich benefit out of this plan that's out there that the Republicans are pushing. I haven't seen the specifics, just a few things from the president, but tax reform. What can we expect from a Democratic plan?
Well, we should listen to the nonpartisan folks who are already looking at this plan. These are nonpartisan organizations, not Democrat, Republican, and saying, wow, the overwhelming benefits of this go to the wealthiest in the country. We can agree on things. I've heard Paul Ryan talk about expanding the earned income tax credit. These are ideas.
Fourth tax bracket. Okay.
Yeah, these are things that do help the working people of this country. We're closing in on 50% of Americans making $15 or less. People are getting squeezed while the wealthy are getting wealthier and wealthier. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just saying that true prosperity in America is prosperity for all, but so many people are being left out of the equation. So if you want to have a tax plan, we already know that this trickle-down stuff, voodoo economics, is bankrupt.
Been there, done that.
Give direct tax cuts and benefits to working people in America.
Okay. One way that Trump, Sessions, and Hogan are so dangerous is they're all focused on reviving the failed war on drugs. Cory's worked hard, I've worked hard at the NAACP to build a bipartisan consensus to end mass incarceration, move towards smart on crime policies that work. And what really should be worrying all of us is when you see Governor Hogan talking about truth in sentencing and new mandatory minimum sentences. That's the reviving of war on drugs, which doesn't just not make us safer. It costs millions and millions and millions of dollars that we should be spending on our schools, not on prisons.
Okay, Senator, thanks for coming in.
I'm so grateful. Come back anytime you want.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the endorsement.
I said that on the air. You heard it.
All right,
If it works with my schedule, I'll be back here.
We're back in a minute.